You know that feeling, right? When your stomach just flips because you're anxious, or maybe you get a sudden craving that feels like it comes from, well, deep inside.
Hmm.
Turns out that gut-brain connection, it's incredibly real and surprisingly complicated.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant conversation.
So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly how your gut talks to your brain. We'll explore the vagus nerve, the chemical messengers in your blood, the pH level in your gut, which sounds subtle, but is actually pretty powerful, and what it all means for your health.
Yeah, and we're drawing on the really solid science here, studies looking at gut pH, how fast things move through, the whole gut-brain axis, the vagus nerve, serotonin, the microbiome. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Our mission today, really get a handle on these connections and, figure out what they mean for your well-being day to day.
Okay, so the gut-brain axis. Think of it less like a single phone line and more like a whole communication network. It involves the brain and the spinal cord, obviously the central nervous system, but also the nerves branching out, the autonomic system doing the automatic stuff, and this amazing thing called the enteric nervous system. People call it the second brain, right there in your gut wall. And the HPA axis, too, which is your main stress response system.
Wow, okay. Lots of players. And you mentioned the vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, right? That's like a key highway in all this.
Exactly. It's a major physical link. It doesn't just send orders down. It influences gut reflexes, appetite signals going up to the brain, even mood. But it's interesting. It doesn't like plug directly into every gut cell.
Well, how does it connect then?
It works indirectly, often through that enteric nervous system and special cells called endocrine cells, or EECs. Think of the vagus nerve as the main line,
Right.
and the ENS and EECs are like the local operators handling the fine details.
Interendocrine cells. So
Yeah.
these are like the gut sensors.
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, they line your gut, constantly tasting and sensing what's in there, nutrients, microbes, you name it. And when they detect something important, they send signals up the vagus nerve and release chemicals like serotonin.
Serotonin. Wait, I thought serotonin was mainly a brain chemical, for mood.
Yeah, most people do, but actually the vast majority, something like 90% of your body's serotonin is made in the gut
Wow.
by a specific type of EEC, the enterochromaffin cells. This gut serotonin is huge for digestion, absorption, metabolism, and yes, it can activate those vagus nerve fibers, sending signals back to the brain. So a lot of that gut feeling might have a serotonin component.
Okay, so the vagus nerve is definitely not just a one-way street from the brain down.
Not at all. It's overwhelmingly sensory.
Yeah.
Maybe 80% of its fibers are afferent, meaning they carry information from the gut up to the brain.
80%.
Yeah. It's constantly listening. It senses signals from the microbiota indirectly, maybe through the chemicals the bacteria produce, like short-chain fatty acids, or via those EECs, picking up microbial signals.
Short-chain fatty acids.
Mhm.
Those are the beneficial ones, right? Produced when bacteria break down fiber.
Exactly. And the ECs have receptors for them. So your gut bacteria can literally talk to your brain via these SCFAs, the EECs, and the vagus nerve. It's quite a chain of command.
Okay, this is making sense. So where does pH fit into this communication network, the acidity level?
Right, pH.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental part of the gut environment.
Yeah.
And it changes dramatically along the way. Super acidic in the stomach, obviously, for breaking down food.
Yeah.
Then it gets more alkaline, more basic in the small intestine because of bicarbonate from the pancreas. Then in the large intestine, where most of the microbes live, their activity fermentation creates acids, lowering the pH again locally. Then it might rise a bit towards the end.
And why does that matter for the gut-brain talk?
Because that changing pH landscape really dictates which microbes can live where and what they do. Different bacteria, like different conditions.
Makes sense.
So if your gut pH changes significantly, maybe diet, maybe medication, it can shift your microbiome composition. And that changes the metabolites they produce, which in turn changes the signals going up that gut-brain axis via the vagus nerve and other pathways. It's all interconnected.
And what about how fast things move through? Gut transit time, how does that play with pH and the microbes?
Yeah. Transit time is another key factor. It works together with pH. Generally, faster transit, especially in the colon, is often linked with more fermentation and those beneficial SCFAs. Slower transit might lead to more protein breakdown products.
Okay.
And things like stool moisture and pH are really significant drivers of who's in your microbiome and what chemicals they're making. Interestingly, transit time through the small intestine seems pretty stable for most people, but colonic transit can vary quite a bit.
So changing how fast things move could maybe temporarily shift pH too.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe due to how quickly things like bicarbonate are cleared or changes in fiber intake affecting SCA production. It's dynamic.
It really paints a picture of why stress feels so physical, why you feel it in your gut.
Absolutely. That gut feeling is real physiology happening. Stress talks directly to your gut through these nerve pathways. It can worsen things like IBS or IBD.
How?
Well, research shows stress can stir up inflammation in the colon and mess with the gut microbiota, possibly by sort of dampening down the vagus nerve's activity. Less vagal tone might mean more inflammation, maybe changes in digestion or mood.
And there's that visceral hypersensitivity idea, too.
Exactly, where the gut nerves just become overly sensitive. Stress seems to play a big role there, particularly in functional GI disorders. It's like the volume knob on gut sensations gets turned way up.
So if we understand this whole network, the axis, vagus nerve, serotonin, pH, transit, microbes, stress, does that give us ways to, actually improve things, manage our health better?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And yes, absolutely. Understanding this opens doors. For instance, since the vagus nerve has anti-inflammatory properties, people are looking into things like vagus nerve stimulation.
Mm.
But even on a daily level, focusing on a balanced gut environment through diet that feeds good bacteria, managing transit time, which influences pH and microbes, that's key. Those microbial metabolites, like the SCFAs, are so important for gut-brain signaling.
So taking care of your gut isn't just about digestion.
Not at all. It's fundamental to overall well-being, physical and mental. It's about supporting that communication.
Mm.
Managing stress is also huge, given its direct impact.
Okay, so wrapping up, we've seen this amazing two-way communication, the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve is a critical highway.
Right.
Specialized gut cells, EECs, act as sensors and release messengers like serotonin, mostly made right there in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And the gut environment itself, the pH levels, how fast things move, shapes the microbiome, which in turn sends signals back to the brain. And stress can really throw a wrench in the works.
You got it. It's all deeply interconnected, impacting both body and mind.
So, the final thought for everyone listening. Considering this constant, dynamic conversation happening inside you, what's one small, consistent thing you can maybe tweak in your daily routine to support that gut-brain connection?
Yeah, something to think about. It could be diet, stress management, maybe even just how you approach meals. Small changes can potentially have a ripple effect through this whole system.